Each week we do something called a community moment. It's a time when you all get a chance to come up here and share a thought for the day. Sometimes it's your journey to free thought, something about a book you've read, or kind of any life topic. And so if you'd like to sign up for a community moment, please see me. We'll get you on the list. We've had so many great ones. In fact, we're thinking, we've had this idea of putting together a book of our community moments, like publishing the Houston Oasis community moments. We've had so many incredible ones. And so anyway, today we get to welcome our good friend, doctoral student in neuroscience at Baylor, Joel Eisenhofer. Joel.
Hey everybody, I'm Joel. I haven't been here for about a month, so there's a bunch of new faces. Hope I get to meet you at some point in the near future. I'll be at lunch, so. Anyway, I wanted to talk this morning about a topic that kind of came up this week for me. It's come up in the past, but this week it really hit me hard, and I'll explain why later. But for those of you that don't know, and I've talked about this before, I am now coming out of a several-year bout with depression, and I would say last April, I finally decided to deal with it and went on antidepressant, and things have turned around. I mean, I've lost 15 pounds in the last 3 months and all this other stuff. It's really good. I can sleep. That's useful. And so, at the same time, and like I said, I can talk about depression with anybody who's curious about it, or about my experiences, or about my opinion of it as a neuroscientist, PhD student, or whatever. But at the same time, a good friend of mine from college was going through the same sort of situation in San Diego, and it took her longer to cave in and actually go on the antidepressant, but things are improving for her as well. So earlier this week, she informed me that she had been speaking to a third friend of mine from college, and this person is one of the most intelligent people I know, maybe the most intelligent person I know. This is the person that led me towards atheism, away from where I was in college, which was kind of pseudo-Christianity at that point. I remember vividly sitting in a neurophilosophy class, and our professor asked, well, what do you guys think about free will? And naturally all of us, as very naive neuroscience bachelor's students go, oh yeah, free will, it feels like we have free will, it makes sense. And this particular student turned to the rest of us and said, and how would that work? And immediately I knew what he was talking about. He was saying, the idea of some sort of soul or control-y thing pulling strings, making the brain do what it does, breaks the laws of physics and chemistry. I mean, it would have to put energy in order to change what the brain was doing. You can't just make or take energy out of a system. Anyway, so this particular person was speaking with my friend in San Diego, and he asked her how long she thought she would be on the antidepressants, and basically said, this happiness and well-being that you're feeling is totally artificial and it's not really real, so you don't really want to be on it, X, Y, Z, other things. Sort of the same thing you always hear about depression and psychiatric medications and things like that. And this really upset me. And I'm going to explain why. Without the proper external stimuli, being psychiatric appointments, psychologists, therapy sessions, and the right family, and the right friends, and the right job situation, and the right situation, if you're depressed, you cannot think yourself out of it. It will not work. And if it does work, that means you had those stimuli. I know that's a circular logic, but I'm just saying, it is the case. And the antidepressant that she and I are both on is fluoxetine, which is a selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. It's probably the most prescribed, and also probably the most well-studied medication through history, according to my colleagues. And I haven't seen any data suggesting that long-term use of this medication causes any detrimental effects health-wise. If you start it, some people get nauseous, but then you just don't take it if it's making you nauseous while you're on it. But literally, if there's no negative side effects that we are aware of, and it's been this well studied, it's ridiculous to suggest that you shouldn't continue taking something which has improved your life that dramatically. Obviously, you don't want to be continuing to have this artificial booster if you don't need it, but if you do need it, it's incredibly useful and incredibly worthwhile. Anyway, so my point basically is that there's this stigma in our country and around the world that this antidepressants and psychological medications are just really not something you want to be on, and you're a terrible person if you on antidepressants or whatever. If you have chronic pain, if you have chronic back pain, you're going to take ibuprofen or acetaminophen. If you have a chronic sickness, you're going to take medication that will help you, and in most cases those medications have long-term detrimental effects. So in the case of this particular one, and in the case of a lot of psychiatric medications, if it's causing a problem, we've studied these things, psychiatrists know what they're doing. So I just wanted to kind of bring the topic up. I think among this group of people, most people would at least have enough of an understanding of neuroscience and how the brain works, and not having such a stigma about things. But it was a topic that, here's this person who led me towards atheism, who's very intelligent, and he didn't understand the nature of the situation. So for the sake of brevity, I'll stop it there, but if anybody has any questions, there's usually a bunch of questions about neuroscience, the brain, etc. when I finish talking. So we can probably ask a couple.
We have a few minutes if people want to.
Anybody?
What branch of neuroscience are you pursuing?
My PhD research is going to be looking at addiction in humans. I actually, in our lab, we study various addictions, including addiction to meth, cocaine, everything. It's really interesting. I have some very interesting experiences, obviously, in dealing with cocaine, meth addicts, etc. And my personal research is going to be looking at the differences between e-cigarette and regular cigarette nicotine addiction in the brain. And then there's also another one later. If we can develop a certain intranasal spray, I may have an interesting way of hopefully treating nicotine addiction. So, yeah.
Is there a typical recipe for dealing with psychologists deal with depression, or is it just tailored individually, completely? Or?
Well, see, that's an interesting thing because most psychiatrists, I think partially because when you go into a psychiatrist, a lot of times you don't, if you don't need to be on a medication, either because of money or whatever reason, they start with this cognitive behavioral therapy, which is historically what people would use, and it's basically that sort of, not psychoanalysis, but it's sort of, you can kind of think of the laying on the couch talking about things situation. And there's a couple other therapies that they use, but if that ends up not working, there's really not much else you can do. And I like to think of the antidepressant as a booster shot that really gives you a way to pull yourself out of the situation. So, yeah. Okay.
I know these studies are probably going on, but with the preponderance of mass shootings, I know they're now looking at these people as not just, they're crazy, but that they've actually had neurological problems. And now I think, are they getting more to where they're doing studies to catch those people beforehand?
I'm sure they are. I'm not actually aware of any specific ones. I do know it's kind of a tough situation because we can't pre-screen everyone. We can't throw everyone in an MRI scanner and go, oh, he's got a tumor in his limbic system, and these other 4 shooters had tumors in their limbic system. So this person, and also that person hasn't done anything yet, so that's like not fair to them if we were just saying that they have a possibility of engaging in that crime. But that is a very interesting, important topic that we need to engage with. as a nation, and what do you even do with these people after they commit the crime? Because that's not the same person once you remove the tumor. It's a totally different person. And so it's a very interesting and difficult topic that it's one that neurophilosophers are working on right now. So hopefully we'll be able to figure that out. Yeah.
I think the general public acceptance of a biochemical component etiology to depression is dramatically different than what it used to be. So if you look at the statistics on SSRI prescriptions,
they've gone up
the
dramatically.
second or third highest used prescription in any corporation. So I think that over the last decade or so, there's been a dramatic change there. So.
I think so, and I hope that it continues. But the reason I wanted to bring it up is, it just blew me away that this particular individual would basically suggest that, yes, it's artificial. It's an artificial help in the sense that you're taking something external and putting it in to the system to improve the workings of it. But the well-being, happiness, it still works on the same system, first of all, although that's kind of a slightly flawed logic. But the most important thing is, in my opinion, if there's not going to be any negative side effects or negatives to it, and you're removing that pain situation, it's useful. But yeah, you're absolutely right, and I'm glad that the stigma and issues with at least depression are improving. Other psychological issues continue to have these stigmas about them that I think need to be addressed. And I wish I had a prescription for that sociologically, but I think people just need to keep talking about it and being aware of it.
You kind of just touched on what I was going to say. The biggest issue is that even though awareness of depression is there, people still say it's just a fix. You need to get off your depression medication. Or the other mental health issues like bipolar. People don't understand that bipolar is not just depression and then you're happy next week. It's this chemical imbalance that is going to last the rest of your life, and you can't just take medication and stop it. And mental health awareness in America it's not there. People aren't educated about it. They're scared of it. When you tell somebody that you have something, you're ostracized. And it's a really sad thing about our society. And I think we're probably more progressive as opposed to other nations. Friends from other countries are oh, well, we don't even do prescription drugs for people like that. We just put them in a room. What? We're progressing, but awareness is the most important thing. That there's nothing wrong with these people. It's just having not a terminal, but an illness that doesn't go away.
Yeah.
High blood pressure or
Exactly.
or diabetes. You just have to treat it and keep treating it.
So anyway, that's sort of the topic I wanted to bring. Oh yeah.
I was wondering if there's been any serious look given at why it is when I play a Patsy Cline album, I want to smoke and a glass of wine.
Community moment.
I could probably actually explain that, but we can talk later. Anyway, just to finish up, I also wanted to mention, and I'll post this on the Houston Oasis Facebook page, but a lot of you know, several of you at least know that I've been working on finally putting together a YouTube page, which is a place where I'm going to be discussing neurophilosophy and humanism. And a lot of my colleagues and friends, we're going to do monthly podcasts on neurophilosophy for about an hour or so. So I'll post a link to that. I think it's something that needs to, that sort of outreach and just discussion needs to be a thing. So it's youtube.com/user/3poundsoul. I hope you get the pun there, or not the pun, but the wordplay. I enjoy it. So I'll post a link, and if you're interested in that sort of thing, that'd be a good place to go to check it out.
Thank you, Joel.